You're still watching iBrand Daybreak. Now it's time to delve into the conversation, the proper conversation for the day. On Monday, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo formally declared his intentions to contest for the 2023 presidential elections under the ruling All Progressive Congress APC. Transforming security, completing the reform of the judicial system, improving infrastructure, and creating a technology-based economy were a few of the key projects on the agenda of the Vice President. Now, declaring his intentions to contest the presidential elections has changed the playing field as members of the ruling party have begun to pitch their tent with either the Vice President or the former Lagos State Governor and national leader of the party. Related it to the meeting they had with the APC governors and senators, Osinbajo will later today meet with the APC ministers. Where does the solidarity of the governors and the senator lie? That's a big question, and to help us answer this question or make sense of this conversation, we still have with us Dr. Dayo Kayode. So back to you, Dr. Dayo. Now, the last question: where would the solidarity lie with the people for Tinubu or supporters of Tinubu or supporters of the current vice president? Do not forget that Tinubu also made a statement that he does not have any son capable enough to run for the position of the presidency, and the Osinbajo's principal, who is the president, had already given the go-ahead. So we are looking at, with this court division with the APC party, that seems to be already not together in itself.
Sorry, are we talking about Osinbajo or Simbadi?
Well, that's what the president called it.
You see, the whole thing is becoming more interesting, and it's also making a lot of people to start a series of permutations. Because when you look at the present APC government, let me tell you this. I was at Obalende sometimes last week. You know, in Obalende, you have a lot of Hausa Fulani there. And that time, you should go there. He say, Baba, you try and go to Obalende, go and do your interview there. And say, yes, Baba, for you will nearly be stoned. And the question now is Osinbajo not part of the government? Second in command? Yes, no doubt about it. A lot of times when he was in charge, when Baba has gone on his normal medical...
Routine check?
Medical, what do we call it now? Retreats. Medical retreats. He always perform. Okay? But the moment Baba comes back, the whole thing turns to status quo. Also remember, there was a time that he took a decision. He took a decision, and that decision was reverted. Even twice. The issue of Onoge.
Yes.
It's still fresh in our brains. Onoge. The issue of this guy in DSS.
The Defense Intelligence Agency as well.
Do you understand? So many issues like that. Again, people like me, we look at it as denigrating for a whole professor, not just a professor, SAN, vice president, that is well knowledge, educated, exposed, will be in charge of trader money and then go to the market and be distributing money. I don't know whether you understand. Yeah. Go to the market and be distributing money. To what extent is that your money distribution going to affect the economy, the GDP? You're supposed to know. If anybody is throwing that at you, why don't you throw it back? But I cannot. All right? Even though I said these days I've decided to be part of my ward, playing grassroots politics. And whenever I'm going, I always drop everything I know I have somewhere, and I go as myself. But still at that, I never allowed anybody to throw anything just at, in fact, you will not even try it. You will not even try it.
If you had defied boss's orders, that would have been resignation at the very least.
Do you understand? And people will have applauded you. But look, I cannot this, I cannot do that.
That's similarly a taboo in this part of the world.
Well, we have seen people doing it even in this part of the world.
Very few.
Even at that, Rome was not built in a day. 1,000 miles journey south is only 2 steps. Somebody like him will have been a kind of an epitome of evolution as regards that, if he had before now resigned his position. So, you can see the way even he was being silenced along the line. Why? Because of position. What? I mean, of what use will a position that will reduce your stature?
Maybe because of how politics is played in Nigeria.
What is that? How is politics played in Nigeria?
But it may seem like it's because of position, but because if he has that intention in his mind already to probably change the status quo when he runs for the presidency and probably wins, if possible, then he doesn't need to be loyal to his principle because that's how it's played in Nigeria.
That is not loyalty.
Okay.
That is not loyalty.
But
will I say because I want to be loyal to you, then I'll be going against my principles? As you have been inviting me here, it should have been monitoring or tailoring what I will say. I will tell you, look, I won't do that for any reason. If you know you want me to come here, let me say my mind. Let me say it the way it is.
We saw what happened to Ambode.
But even though I have to take cognizance of the rules and regulations guiding broadcasting by NBC. The issue of Ambode you are talking about is because Ambode stood his ground. Today now, go to the streets and see how Ambode is always being eulogized. Today, if Ambode had been there, all the deaths you see on the streets wouldn't have been there. I was on the last Iba road yesterday. And I saw
that those who would actually antagonize that,
exactly,
considering that there was a certain
because they said he was eating alone.
No, there was
they said he was eating alone.
You know, when Ambode was in office, he had to get Loma off the board, and there was a certain company that came on board, and we knew how Lagos was very neat at the time.
But that's to tell you that look, the Loma that was put there, they are just using it to serve political interest. And he said, look, I don't want to serve I want to serve the people. People had elected me. So let me serve the people rather than some few.
Doctor, let's bring this back on track with Oshibajo's candidacy now, or rather aspiration. Is not a candidate. You've talked about the fact that whenever he's acting president, he discharges his duties well and performs at least relatively to Nigerians'
no doubt
best
about
interests.
that.
Now, when you juxtapose that with his services or his records as the vice president, what do you make of his candidacy or aspiration rather? Why am I saying candidacy?
Let me tell you, if he becomes the president, it will still be a stooge to those people that, because one, as of today, it doesn't have, even though I also have my reservations about Tinubu. I have my reservations about Tinubu, which we all look at. It doesn't have that political stature and temerity of Tinubu, either you like it or not. Even though he has been vice president, Tinubu is tall most of these governors.
Yes.
No doubt about that.
Kingmaker, yeah.
He is a kingmaker, even though I am not one of his fans. But I respect his political acumen. I don't want to use sagacity. All right? I wouldn't use sagacity for him. Rather, political acumen and maneuvering. Okay? But can if left one-on-one, can he match him? You know, in those days when you want to run a 100-meter race, I say I can defeat you. I will say, okay, go and stay. I will ask you, go and stay in 75th meter. Me, I will start there, and I will see me too. Let him be on the 75th meter, and let him be on the first lane. We still meet him, beat him, hands down. But the issue is, whoever is going to put him there, he will definitely serve their purpose. And that is exactly what has been affecting us in the South.
In other words, what you're trying to say is it will definitely work in terms of service to the people, but you think that it won't be independent as the
He is
president.
not going to be independent. Even as the vice president.
Well,
Tell me, has he ever been independent?
As the vice, yeah, definitely.
Has he ever been independent?
That's the principle.
He has never been independent on his own.
Okay, let's look at, you know, Oshibajo now to other candidates
Yeah.
as well, because the APC's field is getting, you know, larger.
Yeah,
by the day.
I'm very interested.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's just go for the prominent ones. You've talked about
You see, Tinubu, let me tell you, Tinubu, even though I'm not his fan, I always tell people, if I am to do my PhD thesis on political science, Tinubu is going to be a very good
case study.
That makes you a fan.
No, that does not make me his fan, because our ideologies differs. Okay, our ways of our delivery system differs, but still he is, as out of today, a political enigma. He is the only person in this country today that can be compared with IBB.
Okay.
Either you like it or not.
Maradona.
He is the only person. He is Jagaban. While the other one is Maradona. Go and look at the meaning of Jagaban and that of Maradona. Because when it comes to development of politicians, of people in power today, out of everybody, even those of them that are contesting against him now, all of them, including Oshibajo, he identified them, he brought them closer and developed them.
Okay.
Let's from what you're saying, just before she asks now, from what you're saying, it's apparent Tinubu is the front runner when it comes to the APC primaries.
The most front runner.
Okay.
He's supposed to be the most front runner, but the presidency, they have their own agenda too.
Before we delve into that, aside Tinubu, who else are your top three aside Tinubu? From the large pool, we have, you know, the Minister of Transportation, Amechi. You have Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello. You have so many of them, Dave Umahi in the mix as well. Your top three aside Tinubu?
I will not even want to mention Yaya Bello. I don't even want to.
You don't think he stands a chance?
I don't even want to talk about him.
Okay.
Because it's not even in the first instance. Look at his emergence. His emergence as governor of that state. What has he been doing since? Tell me. What exactly has he achieved in Kogi State? Umahi, the same thing. You see, when you want to talk of people outside Tinubu, then Oshibajo, because he has been vice president, before any one of them, I'll be talking about Zulum. You don't understand. I'll be talking about Zulum. These are people that, yes, they have brought dividends of democracy to the people. These are people that understand that, look, leadership is not for oneself, rather for the people you are representing, for the people you are leading. I was telling somebody yesterday, look, my own achievement is not about the kind of car I drive or the amount of money in my pocket. I said no, but about how many people have I been able to put laughter on their faces? How many people have I been able to bring hope to? That is what we call achievement. No. And that is how leadership is supposed to be. But unfortunately, Rotimi Amechi, so What has he done?
Oh, now this is from the APC part. Now let's look at the PDP part. We've had some persons in the PDP come up to say we have the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. We'll have
Bukola Saraki.
Of course, we have the the governor of Rivers State,
Yeah,
Wike. We have
Fayose.
We have a couple of them. I know. Okay, now I also want to mention Peter Obi. I just want to put him into it. So okay, I guess you have a thing for Peter Obi.
Yeah, Peter Obi. Good.
All right, so those, what do you think is the ideal candidate, really?
You see, when you're talking of ideal candidates, that candidate must have, number one, what we call clout. Clout is very key.
Negative, positive clout.
Positive clout.
Okay.
Positive clout. It's not about noise making. Like that person said, play Ariwo call the music. You understand? I was somewhere yesterday and I was listening to some oldies. Listening to some. I now call some guys. Say, can you compare this kind of music to bang bang giri bang bang that they are playing today? No, it's different. Aside from that, that person must be competent. You can be competent if you don't have character. No. Like what happened to Minister of Education when he was addressing the students.
Adamo.
Like what happened to, I think, the late governor of Oyo State when he was talking to students of Velasu. Okay?
Of Lautech.
Sorry, Lautech. You must have character. And above all, compassion. Because it is when you have compassion that you will know the essence of leadership to the people. It is when you have compassion that you know that, look, I have to come up with policies that will not remove bread and butter from the people's table. It is only when you have compassion that you will not be reducing the salaries of workers, as you read in one of the dailies just now. It is only when you have compassion that you will know that importation of fuel is bringing hardship to people, unlike when you decide to refine your crude within your territorial domain.
So for all of these qualities you've mentioned within the PDP caucus now, of those who have emerged as aspirants,
who and who?
No, okay.
Then let me now tell you this. Let me also tell you this. We should also have at the back of our mind that there is no way you will get to the labor room and find a virgin.
Okay.
It is key. We must have it at the back of our mind. Okay. And to that extent, let us talk about Devil's Alternative. I don't know whether you have read that book. Devil's Alternative. Okay. Because there is no way that place will be in a vacuum. Okay? So if you are asking me now to do it, look at what Bukola Saraki is doing up and down. It shows maturity. Look at how he went to that governor in the east. He said, I will fight you. You should go against what we discuss as regards consensus candidates. Abi? That is maturity. It's not about noise. Look at the calmness, the sagacity of the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar. Look at the way he has been comporting himself, despite the fact that a lot of people are trying to draw out words
from his mouth
so that they can nail him.
I'm not talking about.
Do you understand? Look at what you read from the paper. That despite it was, you never see him talking about whether consensus or whether anything, but rather continue with his campaign, having focus on that goal.
All right, now talking about consensus candidacy and also the Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Now we saw that the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum has frowned at the purported recommendation of the 37-member zoning committee of the opposition People's Democratic Party (PDP) to throw the party's 2023 presidential ticket open to all parts of the country, insisting that power must shift to the South. The forum, in the statement issued, said that the conclusion of the governor Autumn-led zoning committee is not only abhorrent, unfair, and unacceptable, but also a purveyor of discord. Dr. Dayo, what you mentioned made me read it, but we saw the story. We saw when they said the ticket should be open. Now, the link to that story, we saw the vice president also coming up to say that the North should continue should have a right to contest, because the South has produced the People's Democratic Party. When it was in power, the South had produced governors and rather presidents. It mentioned Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, among others. And you just mentioned that we didn't see him towing that line of arguing his eyes are on the goal, but with his statement, he more like contradicted what you're just saying now.
No, let me tell you this. Number one, let us understand this.